Hey friends, it's Tracy who is ready for some Christmas DIY inspiration. Guys, I have compiled together my top 20 Christmas DIYs, the most popular here on my channel. Okay guys, I have some old jeans. These are not mendable. These are not something that I can reuse because you can't see the front. These are jeans that have been worn out and they're not good enough to be able to have someone else wear them. The reason I say this is because I got some very mean comments when I posted it on Facebook. And so this is the reason, out of the goodness of my heart, I was just kind of showing how I cut off the pockets of old jeans that were going to be discarded anyway. So this is what I do. I cut the pocket off with my fabric scissors, and I have a pocket just like this to go ahead and paint on. All right, so for the snowman, I'm using this color of chalk paint. It's Plaster by Waverly, and that is a Walmart brand. And so then I'm just freehanding, just kind of drawing out a circle. Now, someone could get, like a jar or a cup or something like that to, draw out a circle with a pen or something like that to give you the snowman circle shape. So then I will also use that same plaster chalk paint and go around the edges just to give it a border. To make the eyes for the snowman, I'm just starting out with my black Sharpie marker, and then I just draw them out. I draw two ovals at the top. I like the eyes where they're more touching at the top, but there are different ways to make eyes. So then I use my round brush and some black paint just to fill them in and get the look that I want. Then to make my cheeks, what I do is I use some coral color paint, and that paint is by Ceramcoat. And then I use my stencil brush. I like to choose the one that's a little bit more wispy, and that just kind of gives me the, it's not solid. That's the kind of the look that I'm going for. And so then I start out a little light, and then I go as heavy as I want it to. Then I will take my liner brush and just make some eyelashes as well as some eyebrows. Now, I get questions a lot about a little liner brush like this to make little wispies like this. And what I would recommend, this brush has been with me for a long time. It is old. It has lost a lot of the bristles. And so that's what I would recommend, finding a liner brush and maybe remove some of the bristles so that you just get a few strands in the actual liner brush. So that if you want to make little whimsical features like this for your characters, then that kind of is what I would recommend. Okay, then now I'm taking a flat paintbrush and just going around the outside of the pocket just to give it a black stripe. And then I'll add some shading and all that stuff just to, give it some of the country touches that I like. Okay, I'm using this color of orange. It is Canyon Orange and a round paintbrush, and that is what I'm going to use to start my snowman nose. So I like to start on the largest part and just kind of go down and just kind of keep going and just getting smaller and smaller as I go along, just to give the snowman his carrot nose. I have also used puffy paint in the past that you can get in the craft store, but for this particular snowman, I'm just using my brush and some Canyon Orange paint. Then I'm using my little detail liner brush just to add some excess on the snowman, just to give him this whimsical look. You could also, I have done little smiles, just with little funny, mischievous grins. It's so fun just to create different character faces with just paint and a brush. Now I'm going to add some highlighting to the snowman nose, and I'm just using a flat paintbrush and some black paint just to go around the carrot nose, just to give it some definition. then to do some shading around the white of the snowman, I'm just using my milk chocolate paint by Americana and my flat paintbrush and just going around and giving it some shading. And as you can see on that left side of his face, I got a little heavy, so I'm going to show you next how I fix that. So what I do is I got a little heavy on there. I could either take a baby wipe and try to get some of that off, but I chose to just get that plaster chalk paint and just go, add a little bit of paint to that so that it wasn't so heavy in that area. So then I continue to go around the pocket and add some brown shading because I love all these little country touches. All right, so then also for more whimsical touches, I just take another liner brush and just add a white stripe to the black of each of, around the stripes, because I just really feel it just the beauty is in the details, guys. I say that all of the time, that beauty is in the details. And so then it was at this point that I remembered, oh yeah, you forgot to shade around the where the blue jean and the white border meet. So that's what I'm doing now. And then I'll just continue with my little detailing brush just to add some more features, just to bring out the nose, as well as do some doodling around the snowman face and around the pocket, just to add a little bit more dimension. As I say all of the time, friends, the beauty is in the details. And so, I like to use an ultra fine Sharpie marker as well as a fine Sharpie marker, which I'm using my ultra fine Sharpie marker right now. I know it doesn't show up too good on camera, but that's what I'm using. Let's work on the cute little Gingy. I'm using this milk chocolate brown paint. It is Americana color. And so I just guesstimate and just kind of hand draw a circle around. Now, as I mentioned in the snowman video, that you can use a jar or a cup or something to give you a bowl or something in your craft room that can give you a circle. So I gave this 2 coats of the brown paint. So then I also use the plaster color paint just to go around the edges, just to give it a border. And I'm really liking that addition to the pockets, just to kick them up a notch. Okay, so then now that those are dry, I'm going to draw out the eyes, and I do the same thing with a black Sharpie marker. Just make some ovals at the top and just go ahead and start painting those. Now I kept the next part in because I wanted to show y'all how I fix when I make an error, because yes, I do make errors. Now I try my best to be consistent with the eyelashes, but on the right eye, I got a little too thick, and so I was not happy with it. I guess, just the way that the paint dried on the pocket, I'm like, that eyelash is that ain't working for me. So I took a baby wipe and just kind of wiped off a little bit of the black, but I'm like, oh, that still is not working too good. So then I go back and do the eyelash again, and I'm like, I still don't like that either. And then later I go back and I paint all of that, because I'm like, girl, you got to put some icing around the top of the Gingy. So yeah, those eyebrows were way too high. So that brown is going to dry, and I'm going to work on the cheeks next. And so I'm using my stencil brush and some Barn Red paint. And the same way I like to do is just take my brush and just give some rectangle cheeks. Now that Barn Red is a ceramic coat color. And so the reason that I always say that is because I get questions a lot, or private messages for people that they want to know. Friends that want to know the exact paint colors. Okay, so then I'm using that same Barn Red color that I used for the cheeks and a flat paintbrush, and going around and making some stripes along the edge of the pocket. So then now we're going to try for the third time to get my eyelashes for her right eye correct. So I just go ahead and make some eyelashes, and then kind of bring some eyebrows down a little bit more so that I have room at the top to add my icing. So then I take my little detailing brush and add the white of the eyes, as well as the whimsical features for her cheeks. I like that look like that. Now for her nose, I'm using this True Red color. It's by Americana, and I just take a round brush and just do 2 slashes just to make the heart for her nose. Buttermilk paint to add some icing around her face. Now first I pulled out a liner brush, and the individual brush was separating on me, so I'm like, that ain't gonna work. So I pulled out a round brush and started just kind of giving the swirlies around her face just to give her some icing. Now I like the curliness of it, because I just kind of take my time and just go back and just kind of fill it in as I need to. Then I'll just take my detailing brush and draw out a little mouth, just giving her a sweet little smile. And I make it a little thick on one side so that I can put a white swoosh in there just to give it some extra detailing. And so then I add just a white stripe on one side of the red stripes just to give out, more dimension. I don't know. Like I say, the beauty is in the details. And so I just like to share for inspiration. I love to see your ideas and what you do with it. As long as I inspire you, you do your own thing, and everyone will be happy. Okay, so then now also what I'm going to do is add some little highlights to her nose, and then here, that's where I show you, I add just a sweet little swoosh in her little mouth. Her little smile just looks so cute. Then of course I take my fine Sharpie marker and then just also add some doodling around the edge of the pockets as well as around the face, because as I say, the beauty is in the details, and I love my doodles and my squiggles, and so it just really kind of makes my little hand painted projects pop. So then now I'm going to add some splattering. I do black first, and then I go back and add white to it. And so for whatever reason, I did not get the black on there, but I did. I added black first, and then I go back and add white. Okay, so then now to kick it up a notch, I'm using some white puffy paint, and this is just something that you can get in the craft store anywhere the fabric paint is sold. You can also get it on Amazon, but it's pretty easy to find, and so I'm just going around and just giving some squiggles around it. Now I let that dry overnight because puffy paint does take a little bit to dry. I pulled out some of my homespun fabric to create a hanger for my pockets, and I can find homespun fabric at Hobby Lobby. Usually Walmart and JubileeFabric.com has lots of fun designs. All right, so then I just cut off, about an inch or a little less than an inch strip, and then I just tie it off and just attach it to each of the ends of the pockets just to make a little hanger. The embellishments are the fun part. I have some of these rusty snowflakes that I picked up from Hobby Lobby in the My Little Christmas miniature ornament section. And what I'm doing is just tying one of them a little bit, so one hangs a little bit longer than the other. Then I'm taking some pine just greenery and just going to just kind of attach all of that together like that. I took another piece of that homespun fabric just to make like a small bow, and I'm just kind of maneuvering it so that it kind of lays nicely and just kind of position everything together, and that just looks so cute. And I just use my pinking shears to just trim that off, because sometimes ripping it that way, it ends up being a little bit more frustrating. Okay, for the gingerbread, I'm using these 18 millimeter rusty Jingle Bells, and I got these from Factory Direct, and I got those a few years ago. I also have a rusty heart, like a primitive country heart that I've had on hand. I'm not quite sure where I got that from, but what I did is I just took my little mini hole punch that I got from Hobby Lobby in the jewelry section, and I just, I'm able to punch a hole in that small metal like that. So then I'm just kind of threading on my jingle bells, and then I'm going to tie that into, a little bow, and that string, what I'm using is hemp cording that I get in the jewelry section over at Walmart, or any craft store should have it in the jewelry section. But it just makes my little primitive country projects look really cute and rustic. These just make such cute little gifts. You could just change out, the characters to match your style and design. Now, I am a gift card fan, and so this is perfect for a little gift card or a small little gift, a little trinket, that kind of thing. And then they can use it for years to come as an ornament or a doorknob hanger, or just to hang on a hook or something like that. If you would like to see how I did or how I created the rustic Santa, I will leave that video here. I'm starting with this pack of 2 brushes. They're chippy brushes from the Dollar Tree. They have a wood handle on them and has the brush on them. These are 2-inch paintbrushes, and so I am going to paint them with primary red paint, let them dry. Now, I want to kind of point out those ribbon rolls. Those work great by just sticking the end of my paintbrush in there and letting it dry. I just use that to my advantage. Okay, so then once that's dry, then I'm going to put on this Santa face, and I'm just going to be making a circle. The paint I'm using is Medium Flesh by Ceramcoat, and I just make the circle like that. Usually I put it on there with 1 coat. Now, for the cheeks, I'm going to go ahead and use Coral color paint. I just use my stencil brush to do that. It's a little wispy, and I like the more up and down cheeks, and so that's what I do. I just take my time, just go on and just kind of put as much on there as I want to. Now, the next thing I'm going to use is this caulk, and I like to get it from the Dollar Tree, and so this is what I'm going to do. Put it on there like that. I kind of do like kind of like frosting a cupcake or something like that. And so I just kind of like take my time, just do my caulk, go around, and then kind of do a point down at the bottom, like where the beard would go. Then I will go back and actually do the back part of it as well, and then let that completely dry. I don't want to forget about his eyebrows, so I just take a skinny stick and just do some eyebrows there at the top. Now, I want a little distressing, and I do this or achieve this by just using some brown paint, and then I water that down. I'm just using a punch cup, and then actually one of those scruffy brushes that come out of that paint pack that I do like, that is listed in my Amazon shop. This works great for this. So I just kind of water down that brown paint and just go over the Santa beard just to give it some distressing. Then I just use a baby wipe or a Kleenex to get off any of the excess. So you can see here, the one in my left hand is distressed, and the one on my right hand is the one that is solid white. Okay, so I'm showing you this yarn. Now, I have had this for many years, but a sweet friend did say that she found some of this yarn that I use for the mustaches over at Michael's, so that might be something that you may look. I had thrown the tag away, so I just really don't know what it's called. And then what I do is I just take it around 2 fingers, and then I wrap it 4 times around those 2 fingers. I cut off an extra piece, tie it off in the middle. Then I'm using my Cutter Bee scissors because they're very sharp, and they kind of get in between those loops, because that is I want to cut those loops apart so that I get the fluffiness for his mustache. For the details of his face, what I'm using is my number 2 flat paint brush. I'm just using some black paint and going to put 2 slashes at the top, kind of connecting there at the top for his eyes. Now that's the look that I like, but you could also use the end of a paintbrush to give 2 dots, or a Sharpie marker to draw the eyes the way that you like them. Okay, so I'm sharing this here because I had decided to put some, highlights for the cheeks. And on one of the Santas, the one on the left, I kind of put antique white. Nah, I didn't like that. It was too dark. So I pulled out my white paint and put the white kind of whimsical features on the cheeks. All right, so for the eyelashes, I just decided this day to use my ultrafine Sharpie marker and just put some eyelashes for Santa's cheeks, and then just using my little detailing brush, just putting the white in the eyes. And for whatever reason, I forgot to click record on my camera. I just put some white stripes on the paintbrushes just with my liner brush. And so I did that all the way around. So then I also added some black and white paint splattering like I like to do on all of my projects. Then once that was all totally dry, I did sand them just to expose a little bit of the wood. And then I am giving each of them a coat of this varnish that I like to use. And you can find that varnish at any craft store as well as in my Amazon shop. Okay, so then for the nose, I like to use little miniature wood plugs. This is 1/4 inch wood plug that I got from Hobby Lobby. And so then I just glue those on there right in the center. And then to give it some color, I'm using that coral color paint that I also used for his cheeks. I'm using that just to stipple on a little bit of the paint to give him a rosy red nose. Then I'll use my detailing brush just to give a little swoosh on the top just for a highlight. Once I get the nose on, then I will add the mustache there just with hot glue. So I decided to make some miniature signs to add as a tag for my Santa. So I just have some ivory color cardstock, an ultrafine Sharpie marker, and some distress ink. Now, the only place I can find true distress ink is from Amazon. And so I do have that listed in my Amazon shop. So I'm just writing out Santa for one tag. The next tag, I will write out Merry Christmas. So I'm just going to kind of let this go and just, kind of show y'all how I just hand letter by just using the ultrafine Sharpie marker. Then I go back and make my happy dots with the fine Sharpie marker. I'm going to rip the edges to give it, and then give it some distressing the way that I like. And y'all have seen me do this many times on my videos, so I'm just going to kind of let it go and let y'all watch me do my little magic. And all glory to the Lord for the gifts and the talents to share with so many fun and sweet friends here. I also added some black stitching around each of the signs just to give it a more whimsical, rustic look. So I pulled out my glossy accents and just kind of painted over the tag. Now I tried to go gently and not too much because that distress ink does tend to smear. So then I wanted to glitter them up, and so I needed something wet for my glitter to stick to, and my glossy accents is great for that. Guys, you can get it at any craft store, or you can look for it on Amazon. Okay, so then I'm going to use some homespun fabric, and I just chose this green and red one. Now, homespun fabric you can get anywhere at Hobby Lobby, Walmart has it, or JubileeFabric.com is another place that you can get fun homespun for any day or as well as holidays. So then here I have all of my embellishments that I'm going to put on my Santa, but I ended up not using those berries or the greenery. So I have just some very small jingle bells. Now I'm not quite sure what the size of these are. I just had a whole bunch of them that I rusted up. And so I just had them in a cup so they were not in a bag. But I think I got the bag from Dollar Tree, and then I rusted them up using my friend Linda's rusting technique. Okay, so then what I did is I just threaded them on a piece of wire, and then just stuck it at the top of that, where that hole is, on the Santa on the paintbrush. So I'm using my wire curling tool, the most smallest one that they have. I will insert a link here, and then as well as in the description, I have a link of where you can find these curling tools, and it just really helps if you have problems curling wire. Okay, so then now I'm just going to put a very small hole using my wire hole punch. I do have a link for that as well. It's located in my Amazon shop. And so then I just take a piece of thread, just very thin thread, and then make some, just thread it through the tag, and then I tie a knot there at the top so that it kind of holds it, and then I'll attach it at the top where those jingle bells are so that it hangs nicely on my Santa ornament. So I'm taking a strip of that homespun that I had torn off and just poking it through the hole of the paintbrush up at the top. Then I'm going to tie it off just for a hanger for my Santa. And these make cute little gifts for coworkers, craft show sellers, for neighbor gifts, or something like that. And so I just knot it there at the top. And then to finish it off, I was going to put some greenery and some berries and stuff on it, but I just really felt like just the tag and just all the cuteness of the Santa face really just did it justice. So it really didn't, need anything else. So I just am tacking it there, that little sign or tag, so that it doesn't move. And this is how they turned out. I love them so much, and I hope that you do too. And if you make some, please don't forget to share them with me over in my Country Charm Crafty community, or send me a picture through Instagram or Facebook. These wood Christmas trees are so popular, and I do appreciate so many friends sending me their versions. I have seen them all over Pinterest, all over the Facebook groups, and I so appreciate you picking up and sharing my ideas. All right, guys, the wood shapes came either from Dollar Tree or Dollar General. The scrapbook paper came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to be making a stand for my trees just with the tumbling tower blocks that I get from the Dollar Tree. I just painted those black and glued those together. I did use some Aleene's tacky glue and hot glue and just let them so that they would make a nice sturdy stand. Now these two wood shapes, the larger tree came from the Dollar Tree. The smaller tree came from Dollar General, and I did not want to bother my husband about cutting off this bottom. So I figured out how to make it work and look really cute. I got so many messages of so many different things that I could have done in it, or comments, and it's just like I wanted to show one of these fun and funky bows. So that's how I did it. So I'm going to show you how I created this and how I mask it. And crafting is all about creating different things and sharing different ideas and different tips of what we can do to make things look really cute. All right, so then what I'm doing is I just cut out the shapes of the trees, cut them out of the scrapbook paper. Then I'm going to use the Mod Podge method. This was before I had learned the heat transfer method, and that's what I use most often now. But what I did is I just put some Mod Podge on it and let that dry, and so there is no foul in this. It just looks really cute. I love the way that these trees turned out. I use them every single year in my Christmas decor, and I just love it so much.
Using a wooden star from the Dollar Tree, what I did is I just took off the points of the little star and created a little Christmas tree out of it. Okay, so I made sure that one of the tips that I was going to cut off on that star is that's one that had the hole in it because I didn't want a hole in my tree. And so then what I did is put some shelf liner. I like to use this for my projects, and it just kind of helps stabilize it so my mat doesn't move. And then I have a box cutter from the Dollar Tree. I was kind of struggling with it just a little bit. So I am just taking off those two tips. I have my sanding little block from the Dollar Tree as well, and just sand off any parts of the tree that need to come off. And I just love the little shape of it, and the little tree turned out really cute. These are the scrapbook paper I'm using. They're both from Hobby Lobby and Paper Studio brand. Now I just trace out the tree form. Now I know this green one is an 8.5 by 11 sheet. I didn't see any of the 12 by 12s in this green, and I really wanted to use that for my tree. So you could use the extra. You could glue that on there or Mod Podge that on there, or I'm not worried about it because that rusty star is going to cover it. Anyway, so just doing the same thing with the red and black buffalo check. I'm just cutting out with my scissors. And just a tip, if you move your paper and not your scissors, you have a cleaner cut, and it just helps a little bit. So before I Mod Podge on to these wooden trees, I want to paint them. I'm using moss green for the green and crimson red for the red and black one. And I just go ahead and paint a bit of the, around the edges, and then as well as the back. Should have used a larger brush, but I didn't feel like pouring it out on on my plate or anything. So, I just did it the hard way. Anyway, so now I'm doing the same thing with the red. And what I decided on that tree is I decided to cut off the trunk of the tree. So I didn't paint that. And I probably, if I would have thought about it before, I would have cut that off before I painted it, but it all worked out. So just using some Mod Podge, I just put a thin layer of Mod Podge on the little wooden tree, and then I take my paper and I smooth that out with my squeegee, getting any of the excess out. Like excess Mod Podge, I just use a little baby wipe to get out or to clean off my little scraper. And I don't put a layer of Mod Podge on top of my project until the bottom is completely dry. That helps alleviate the bubbles. And so what I'm going to do is use this one first. There's no really rhyme or reason. I just wanted something that I could glue on there that would kind of mask those points from that tree. So just using some hot glue, I'm just going to put a bead of hot glue on there and then just glue my little trim to that. I just love how this little tree is coming together with all the little trims. Then now I have these little pip berries with the mini jingle bells. It comes on a little strand like this over at Joann's. I got them over at Joann's. Anyway, I just cut them and just glued them on the sides there. I did not wrap them all the way around. I actually just formed it around the edge, just hot glued it in place, and kind of curled it around my finger a little bit so that it would all, look really cute. Now this ribbon is also from Joann's, and I'm just making a simple little bow, and I just put it on the edges, and that kind of helps cover up any of the hot glue that may be showing. I just made a knot in the middle and just trimmed off the ends, and then just hot glued that. Then in the middle, I will tie on a little bow. I found this pack of wood slices over at Hobby Lobby. I used my 40% off coupon. I'm going to use that as well as a 12-inch wooden dowel. The 3/8 inch is the size that these dowels are. And what I'm showing you here is I am going to drill a 3/8 inch hole so that I can fit my dowel in there so that my little tree will stand up. Here are my rusty stars. Now these are 3-dimensional and I want them to be flat. So I just put them on my table and just took my palm and just flattened them out so that they would lay flat. And you know, that just what works for my little project here. I just hot glued them at the top. I did the same thing with this red and black buffalo check. I just decided to use the tassels on the buffalo check because I didn't want to overdo the tree. Just glued the rusty star on the top of that. I painted the dowels brown and then just glued them into the little wood slice to make sure that they stand up. I added some Excelsior to the wood slices because I thought that it gave it a little decorative touch, as well as some greeneries and some red berries. To the red and black buffalo check, I added the black and white ribbon. It is a 5/8 inch ribbon, and I added a little bow to that rusty star on the green tree.
Some of those. So I had some of these 3-stack jack-o'-lanterns. Now, over the years, Dollar Tree has these. They may look a little different. They may have like extra characters or something on them, but just a box blade or some scissors and just your imagination, you can get some of that stuff off if you're interested in making a snowman like this. All right, so what I did is I just painted it a color of just white chalk paint. And also I measured out some scrapbook paper and adhered that to the back. And just like I do with all of my shading, I use my flat paintbrush and some milk chocolate paint. I dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water. I blend on a paper towel, and then I shade around my project. I also do my cheeks the same way. I, use that little stencil brush and some coral color paint. And then for the eyes, I just used my round paintbrush just to add some eyes, and then my little detailing brush to add some eyebrows and some eyelashes. I chose to use some puffy paint for the orange carrot for the snowman's nose. And I just used my heat tool just to, speed that up a bit. Now, I know I'm going a little fast in this video, but the original video in slow motion of how I made this snowman, of how I, painted everything, how I, made the hat with all of the cute, primitive country stuff that I love so much. That video link will be in the description box below. To start my Santa bottles, I'm starting with some clear bottles. Now, regular beer bottles will work or any kind of wine bottles. I've done all of those before too, but these are just clear bottles. My son drinks root beer out of them, and then also my wine coolers. And I don't know, they're just really too good to throw away. If you can recreate something and upcycle something, if you're not going to, of course, recycle it. Anyway, so what I'm doing is, guys, I am putting on a coat of chalk paint. And what I did to give it a little bit of texture is I just took some regular baking soda out of my kitchen and I just mixed it in with my acrylic paint. And so then I'm just giving it a coat of that. Now I choose to, when I'm painting bottles or something like that, chalk paint does seem to adhere a lot better than just regular acrylic paint. You'll need to have some kind of primer or something like that. But chalk paint adheres very well. And I wanted more of a texture to my paint. So what I did is I just mixed some baking soda in with the paint, or the chalk paint. I painted my bottles a coat of plaster first, just to give it like an undercoat. And then all I needed was one coat of the red mixed with the baking soda, just to give it a little bit of a thicker texture. And I like that for my painted projects, especially on glass. I usually paint the bottom first, let that dry, and then paint the top. All right, so now I'm using medium flesh acrylic paint and then a flat paintbrush, and then just kind of eyeballing a circle. This is going to be my Santa face. And so usually one coat does well if I give it a pretty good coverage. And then I just am going to start the beard. Now I like to use the caulk from the Dollar Tree, or you can get it from, any home improvement store, Walmart, that kind of thing. But I just pick it up at Dollar Tree. And then I just kind of, just start putting it on, kind of like, you are going to decorate a cupcake or a cake or something like that. Just kind of put that on. And then I just use a little stick, kind of spread it around, just kind of like you're frosting a cupcake. And I go down a little bit more at the bottom, kind of like where the beard would be. And then also I do just some little eyebrows, just give a couple of, just kind of above, like where the little eyes would go. And then that is going to be really cute. Now I let this dry completely. It does take several hours. I usually just let it dry overnight so I don't risk putting my fingers in it and messing it up. All right, so then now I'm just taking a stencil brush and some coral color paint and just stippling on some cheeks. Then I will go back and add just some eyes. Now I like the more almond shaped eyes. If you've been following me for a while, you know that is the type of eyes that I like, but you can draw eyes several different ways. So what I was showing first is I'm going to be putting a little wood plug in for the nose, but so I was just trying to see my position. And then once those are all dry, then what I do is I am going to add some distressing, and I just take some milk chocolate acrylic paint and then some water, and I'm just mix it in just a little cup, and to get the thickness that I like. Now how I choose to distress, my method is different than other people's, but what I do here is I am just I don't want it to be so white, so I am just kind of stippling it on, and I kind of like made a stain is what I did. And so then I just take a tissue or a baby wipe just to, dab off the excess, but I like the way that it looks. See, here is the white, and then the one with the distressing. I like that a lot better. And then once I do that, then I just go back and add some paint, some black paint in for the eyes. I don't know, this is just my process of how I do it, kind of the order that I do it. And so I just, filled it in with the black paint. Then using my little detailing brush, the one that has been with me for many, many years, I just go and make some eyelashes. And then I just use that same detailing brush and add some of the whimsical features just with some white paint in my little detailing brush just to add some lines on the cheeks. I like that look like that. And then what we're going to do now is add the white of the eyes. Just, depending on where you are, how you put the white in the eyes depends on how Santa's looking. Now, I like to use these 3/8 inch wood plugs that I get from Hobby Lobby for my Santa bottles. Those are kind of the size that I like to use for that. So then I just glue those wood plugs there, and then I take some of that coral paint and just dab some of that on so that it gives him a rosy nose. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some little white swoosh to his nose so that, just kind of give him a little swooshy nose. And then I'm going to add some splatter paint, and I was making several of these Santa bottles at one time because I have going to be using them for different things. And so I'm just adding the paint splatter black, and then I go back and add the paint splatter white. And then for my Santa beard, I'm using this glitter paint. It's diamond. I just have the smaller tube of it. And I just go and just kind of smear a little bit of that on the Santa beard because I like that little shimmer. And I know it just doesn't show up too good on camera, but yes, it's there. For my Santa's beard, I'm using this yarn. Now, I've had this particular skein for several years, but the closest that I can find is this homespun yarn over at Michael's. Okay, so to make my Santa beard, depending on how big, how big the face is, will depend on how many times I wrap the yarn around my fingers. But for these Santa bottles, what I'm doing is wrapping them around 3 or 4 times. Then I cut off a little piece and then I tie it in the middle. Then I'm using my Cutter Bee scissors. They're just little short scissors like this. And you can find these in the craft store or you can find them on Amazon. And the reason I mention that is because I do get questions about where you can find those little Cutter Bee scissors. Anyway, so then I just go through and I go through and cut the loops apart, and then I trim off the beard just to, my liking, so it's not so thick. And then I just hot glue it there right underneath the nose. And then I'll take my scissors and just trim off any fuzzies that may, or little stragglers that I, don't like for each individual beard. Each one, it's its own creation and turns out a little bit different. For his hat, I could not find any socks that I liked at the time that I was going to be doing this video. So I decided to paint my own. So what I have here are just some white socks that I got from the Dollar Tree, and then I brought them home and I just made an instant coffee stain just to coffee stain them. And how I do that is just, put a bowl of water and then I just sprinkle in some instant coffee to the darkness that I like. And then I just soak them for a little bit until I get the the stain that I like, and then I let them dry, and then they're ready to go to paint on. So I'm choosing to paint on these because I couldn't find any striped socks. And so I'm going to show you here how you can create your own just with some paint. Now, guys, I am just using a red acrylic paint, but right here I'm showing you can also use fabric paint. And the reason that I'm showing you both of those because if you use the fabric paint, it's a little bit more soft on the fabric versus, just the acrylic paint. Sometimes when you paint on it, it makes a little hard on it. So what you can do if you don't want your paint to be hard, then you'll need something like a gloss medium or acrylic medium rather, that you can just get anywhere paint is sold. It's usually just something that you mix parts into, like the same part into it, and it doesn't change the color or anything of the acrylic paint, but what it does is that when you paint it on the fabric, it gives it a softness that you have so that you don't have that hard paint on it. But these are just going to be Santa hats And they're just fine. They're really just fine. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I am just going to be putting this on my bottle, and I just kind of, play around with it to get the placement that I like. I also add some polyfill, some stuffing in it just to, give it a little bit of thickness. So I just kind of play around with it, glue it as I go along, kind of scrunch it up, and just, make my little Santa bottles look really cute. Then I just pulled out some cheesecloth that I also coffee stained. I got this cheesecloth at Walmart in the canning section. And so I just coffee stained that and let that dry so that I would have it for my little primitive country crafts, just like this. I also have some of that red and green homespun that I love so much. And again, you can get homespun at different places like Hobby Lobby, Walmart, also JubileeFabric.com is another place that you can get some wonderful fabric. All right, so then now I'm just continuing to start adding the embellishments to my little Santa hat. And guys, what I usually do is I usually cut the end of the sock. I'll show you that here real quick. What I do is I just take my little pinking shears and I just make some slits in it just to kind of give it like the, fuzzy look, I guess, on the end. And so at this point, I had forgotten to do that, but I go back later and do that. So what I'm doing is this. I have these 32 millimeter Jingle Bells that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and I have that same brown wire from Michaels that I have been using. It is kind of a little rusty looking to me. It's brown, but it can pass for a rusty wire. And so I just, use my little wire curling tool to add the curls on the ends, and then I just take strips of that homespun as well as some cheesecloth, tie that on the end, and just make it look just so primitive country cute. I just love that. And then for some more embellishments, I'm using another one of those grungy candy canes. Actually, it is a pipe cleaner. They were red and white, and then I grunging them up on a recent video, that you can see how I do that. And so I just use them for little embellishments like this. So I want some a little bit smaller. So what I did is I cut them apart, and then because they were a little flimsy, so what I did is I just took my Stiffen Quick and just sprayed them so that they would be a little bit stiffer. And so then for embellishments for the top of my Santa hat, or the side of my Santa hat rather, I'm just using some pip berries that I got from Hobby Lobby, and then some greenery, and just kind of tying all of that in, just gluing everything with some hot glue, making sure that everything is down. And then also I add just a little just some jewelry cording that I get from the jewelry section, and I just just make just a little regular bow. I just really like all the little details. Guys, y'all hear me say that all of the time. The beauty is in the details. More pizzazz for my Santa. Of course, this is totally optional, but I am choosing to use a little bit of glitter on the hat, and so I don't want it to get on my Santa face. So what I'm doing is just taking a paper towel and just covering that up, and then I take my Craft Bond. It's just Elmer's spray, adhesive spray, and then I just spray it, and then I just sprinkle on some little glitter. Now this glitter is diamond over from Hobby Lobby. Y'all know my favorite store has all my favorite things. And so then I just spray the front, then I spray the back. Again, this is totally optional, but you know, at Christmas time, we always love a little sparkle. This Holy Family Nativity decor piece is so popular, and I have had so many friends reach out and say that they've recreated it. Their projects have been beautiful, and I definitely wanted to include it in this collection video. So what I'm starting with is an 11 by 14 canvas. This is just one that you can get in the craft store, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Walmart. Dollar Tree also has them. They may be just a little bit different, but the 11 by 14 is what I'm starting with. So I'm just having a just brown acrylic paint and just giving it a coat of that on the sides and on the back. I give it some paint splatter with just some ivory or buttermilk color of paint, and then that is going to be the base of my nativity. Now this Holy Family, Mary, Joseph, and Baby Jesus Nativity is from Hobby Lobby. And so what I've done is I get questions and messages about this frequently, especially this time of year, because this is why we put these collection videos out, so that you have the time, go to the stores and get these craft supplies while they're available. So it is from Hobby Lobby. I put the information there on the screen, because if you would like to check it out, and I have seen them in my store this year. So what I did is I gave it a coat of black paint. Then I'm going to take some glittery gold puffy paint. It's kind of translucent. I was just going to paint the star, but then when I realized that it was transparent, I went ahead and painted the whole thing just to give it some glimmer and some shine, and just to kind of highlight the silhouette of it. And I think it looks really pretty and makes a very nice effect. For the sign, I'm using one of the wood slats that I get from a pack from Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Dollar Tree has these. And what I did is I gave it a coat of buttermilk paint. It's just an ivory paint. Then I'm going to take some black and just paint a border. I like to paint the sides first. Then I will do just a little wavy pattern. I'll do some shading with my brown paint, as I like to do. And then I'm going to hand letter Oh Holy Night using my Posca 5M paint pen, and those are linked in my Amazon storefront if that's something that you're interested in. To assemble the decor piece, I have a couple of pieces of scrapbook paper that I'm going to cut down and stick inside of the frame. Then I will put my nativity silhouette on top. But before I do that, I want to trim it out with some lace. Now I got these either from Hobby Lobby or Walmart, somewhere like that. I thought it looked really good, and it was a great effect for this decor piece. I used some fine Excelsior to simulate some hay. I just glued some of that down there at the bottom. Then to attach my nativity silhouette, I needed some little dimensions. So I have some of these tumbling tower blocks that I get from the Dollar Tree. I painted several of them black so that they would all tie in together with the project. I glued them to the back of the nativity silhouette and then made sure that where it hit where I needed it to give the dimension that I want. Then I added my sign also to the top of the decor piece, and this is just so beautiful. Now for a hanger, I just have some wooden beads that I've had on hand. I got a lot of these either from Walmart or Hobby Lobby. I just went ahead and took off pieces of those. These are really good to get like after Christmas or, when they're going out of business, not out of business, out of season, and they make really good hangers. I just used some wire and just threaded several of them on with just a pattern that I liked. And then that is what I did to make a hanger for my decor piece. And in between the patterns, I just tied a small buffalo check bow that I got this ribbon from Hobby Lobby, and I just love the look that it gives. Now, to attach it to my decor piece, what I did is I just drilled 2 holes through that wood frame, and then I attached the wire there. Then to kind of finish it off, kind of cover up that wire a bit, I just used some buttons just had on hand and just glued those to the top to really finish off this project. Now I did add some greenery to the nativity silhouette, but some of it I didn't really like, so I ended up taking it off after I took the pictures because I really didn't like the way that it looked. And then those glittery branches are from the Dollar Tree, and also I have seen those at different places since this project was completed. And there are just always coming out with new and fun things for us to decorate just our projects with. This is by far one of my top favorite creations that I have ever created here on my channel. I had started with a gift box that my grandson and my son had given me my Christmas present in, and it was so cute. It had a cute little snowman on it, and so I'm like, that is too cute to throw away, so let me see if I can make something out of it. And so that's what I did, and I just love the way that this all came together. And so I'll just briefly tell you this real quick. I use several different supplies. For the back of it, I'm using 2 signs that I had on hand. These were Halloween signs. I loved the jagged edges of it. That is definitely something that you could do by notching out different signs with like a box blade, or if you want to cut it out of wood or that kind of thing. But I just kind of was trying to use what I had on hand. To get them together, glue them together, I just used some stir sticks, some paint stir sticks. I just glued those together. Then I was going to use, or I did use, some crackle paint technique or crackle paint technique. So for the underlay or the bottom coat, I used buttermilk paint because that is the color that I wanted to show through the cracks. And so I gave it a coat of that. Then I gave it a coat of Crackle Medium you can get in the craft store or you can get off of Amazon. And so I gave it a thick coat of that. Let that dry completely. The Crackle Medium that you do, you have to let that dry completely. I do a thick coat because I think that that helps give me the bigger cracks. You can always use the Elmer's glue or school glue technique as well to give some cracks. Whatever works for you. All right, so for the snowman, I cut off the excess of the box and then I'm going to rip it to give it the jagged edges. And I really think that that is what really defines this project, just giving the jagged edges. And so just real briefly I'll share with you if you want to rip them. I'm just using my fingers just to help guide it as I go around so that I don't get too far into the face and don't tear any of the hat. So I just rip it around and it really exposes a bit of that cardboard box. And let me tell you, this one was a real cutie. So I wanted to share this because again, it is one of my top favorite projects that I've done. And also, since the season is coming up, you don't want to throw away those cute gift boxes that you can create a memorable creation with that you can enjoy for years to come. I use the bottom of the gift box to make my sign at the top that says Winter Blessings. So I just cut it down a bit so that I could handle it a little bit better. So then what I'm using is my Posca paint marker. This is the 5M, which is the larger one. They are listed in my Amazon shop if that's something that you're interested in. And I just hand lettered Winter Blessings with my little happy dots that I like to do and my fun embellishments or my fun extras by ripping it, giving it the tattered edges, just like I did the snowman. I'm going to give it some distress ink. I like to use a vintage photo. I'll just add a little bit of doodling to my sign and just make it look really cute. And I just love how this precious project came out. And I pull it out every single year and we have a good laugh about it because it is something that was, my gift was given to me in it. And my son and my grandson didn't expect me to keep the box. And then when I remind them, hey, that is the gift box that you gave me, my present in, or my gift in several years ago, they get a good laugh about it. So anyway, it's just definitely a trash to treasure project that I keep, and it's just so special to me. I'm using navy blue acrylic paint for the top coat, and almost instantly I can see the crackles start to take shape underneath, and that's why I wanted to use the ivory buttermilk paint because I like how this all looks together. So then once that is all completely dry, this is how that looks, and it's just so pretty. So to attach all of it together, I'm using some Jenga blocks or some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. I just glue those on the back, and that gives me the dimension that I like for my projects. I put those on my snowman as well as on the back of my sign. And then I'm going to add just some fun embellishments. I have some of these burlap sunflowers that I got from Hobby Lobby. They were like in the miniature Christmas section. And so then I have some of these glittery branches that I had on hand, and I'll just continue to add some fine excelsior to the bottom. I'm going to make a bow also because that red bow was not, or the red scarf rather, was not doing it for me. I wanted to tie it all in together with the different blues and the whites and just the country look for this project. This is another fan favorite, and I so appreciate so many friends sharing their versions with me. All right, I started with one of these cutouts from the Dollar Tree. Then I traced out a bit of the face, and then I'm using medium flesh. That is my favorite flesh color for my faces. I just go around and give it, I probably had to do 2 coats of it to give it a really good coverage. Now then, for the Santa's hat, I'm using Barn Red. That is my favorite Santa color of red. I'm a little bit primitive country, and I love the primitive country colors, especially for my rustic country crafts. So then for the beard and mustache, I used warm white. I'm going to be go ahead and adding some shading and all of that, stuff. I wanted to make sure that I trimmed out the nose because I forgot to paint that when I was doing the medium flesh. So I go ahead and give the beard 2 coats of that. This project was inspired by Pinterest, and I will leave a link to that in the description box below. So I go ahead and give it some shading, what I like to do. Now, what I was sharing is that I got a little bit too heavy on one side, so I just shared my favorite paint brushes that I like to use. Those are listed in my Amazon storefront if that is something you're interested in, because I do get questions a lot of what paintbrushes I use. When I do my shading, the best advice that I can give is to use a flat paintbrush. That's what I am using. And so they're on the left side of the Santa's face. I got a bit heavy with the brown paint, brown shading. So I go back and I share how I fix that up because I was not happy with it. For the shading on the hat, I just used some of that warm white paint and went around just to give it some definition. For Santa's rosy cheeks, I use the paint color Coral, and that is Deco Art or either Americana. And then I draw out the eyes. And now I do have a playlist. I have an actual video that I had shared of how I make my faces, how I make my eyelashes, all of that thing. This is just my preference. A lot of people have their own version of how they like to make faces. If that's something that you like to do. If you can't do it, then just use the end of a paintbrush and just make 2 little black dots and you're good to go. So I like to use, just my little liner brush just to give all the little cute whimsical faces or features rather, and then I will enhance it all, bring it out with my black Sharpie marker, just outline it. I just like that look. I really think that it just really gives it the whimsical look. And I use my little ultra fine Sharpie marker just to add a bit more. Then I'm using a liner brush just to add some squiggles and doodles is what I call them. Then I go back and add some paint splatters on my Santa, and I got a little heavy there on one end of it, so I went back and added some white just to cover up a bit of the black paint splattering. It's all in crafting, and so we just figure out what works best for us. Now I'm using my Posca 5M paint pen. These are listed in my Amazon shop, and I just wrote out Jolly, adding my little happy dots. That sealer that I was sharing with you, that is one that I found. Now the Posca paint pens, I have found that they do smear if I use a wet sealer on it. So that spray sealer is one that I use that, kind of puts it in place and it does not smear. All right, so then for the tag, I wanted to put my Santa on, have like a base, and so that tag came from Dollar Tree. And so then I have some I have some scrapbook paper. I just trimmed that out, and then I'm going to attach it to the back of that tag, and then just to include all of my little Santa features, or my Santa and all of that. I will decorate with some pine, some berries. I'll make a rag bow for the top of his hat, add all the fun embellishments, this rickrack, and I got that at Hobby Lobby. I just glued put it there to the tag, and just really add a lot of the fun embellishments I like to do for my projects. Friends, this next project is one that I created and use every single Christmas for my Christmas cards. Now, I created it using two of those vintage trucks that Dollar Tree used to have, but if you do not have some of these on hand and would like a copy or pattern, I do have one available that you can download for free for your personal use, and then you can cut it out of wood or stiff cardboard or something like that to make your own Merry Mail truck. And I have had so many friends send me their pictures over the years, and I absolutely love, and it just makes my heart so very happy. So guys, what I did is, like I said, I did have two of those vintage trucks that Dollar Tree used to have. If you're a hoarder like me, you may have some of those still on hand. I cut off one of the edges, or actually cut off one of the tops of it. Then for the box, I'm just using one of the Halloween trick-or-treat boxes that Dollar Tree has. Maybe now you can look for those. And so that is what I use. Now, if you don't have access to one of those trick-or-treat boxes, you can use some, look in your pantry, something that will be sturdy enough, something that you can, cut down, you can paint and that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be just exactly what I'm using. These are just really ideas, and I'm so glad that I'm able to share my gifts and talents that the good Lord has given to me to share with so many of my beautiful community friends here at Country Charm by Tracy. These homespun candy canes are so precious. I just love displaying them in bowl fillers or just vintage items throughout my home for the holiday season. So what I'm starting with are some plastic candy canes. Now I got these many years ago from the Dollar Tree. Check if you can't find them anywhere locally to you. Check Hobby Lobby, or I have them listed in my Amazon shop if that is something that you would like to have shipped to you directly to your door. So these plastic candy canes are just very lightweight. And so what I did is I just ripped strips of fabric, homespun fabric. You can get that at Walmart, Hobby Lobby, and also JubileeFabric.com has tons of different patterns and designs. And homespun fabric is just fabric that you can see on both sides, and it makes a really, really pretty when you're wrapping things around. Just makes a lot of pretty decor and nice touches for your home. So I just wrap my candy canes around with different fabrics, and then just putting the little dots of hot glue as I go along just to tack it so that I get a really nice touch. Now, for the tag, what I'm going to do is I have this hole punch that is something that I had on hand, and it is just punched out some brown craft colored tags, and then I have a stamp. This is one that I had on hand, and then it's a little Christmas tree, and so I stamped that in green, and then I just hand lettered Merry Christmas. I tied all of this together with just some jute. And then, like I said, these are just perfect for little bowl fillers, or if you have like a, vintage bowl or vintage measuring cup sifter. That's what I'm kind of thinking about, that sifter. That's what I do. I have this vintage style sifter that I put my homespun candy canes in, and just enjoy them for the holiday season. For this project, I'm going to make a little ornament shelf sitter. I'm starting with 2 of these tumbling tower blocks and 1 of these small tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. So I'm using a few wooden beads as well as just a wood plug for to make the faces or the heads. Using antique wax just to give it the stain that I like to do. And so I had my husband cut off 1 of those blocks so that, Mary would be just a little bit shorter. So I'm using my favorite way of just putting the antique wax on to stain my wood. I'm just using a baby wipe. Y'all have seen me do this on other projects. And then for this is going to be what I'm going to be including the stand. This is going to be where I write or have my tag, A Savior is Born. And I just gave that a coat of plaster color chalk paint. So then now I'm going to start assembling my small little Holy Family. And then this is going to be the what I'm going to be putting on Mary's head. It's just a piece of gingham fabric that I had on hand. And then this is the little burlap that I'm going to be using for little baby Jesus. Going to be tying some sisal twine around that. I got that sisal twine at Hobby Lobby. And so then I glue the wood balls on the head, and then I have the little plug that I have here for baby Jesus, and just wrapped a small piece of burlap around that. Then for the gingham, I'll just add that to the top of Mary's head, and then add a piece of brown fabric to Joseph's head, and then I'll glue everything together. For the tag, I have a piece of craft colored cardstock, and then I just tattered up the edges just by ripping it, and then hand lettered "A Savior is Born." I added just some of my happy dots. Now, I want to mention that this is not my original idea. I was very inspired by different ones that I saw on Pinterest. So I will link to the pin that inspired me to create this in the description box below. Little wooden gingerbread man is from the Dollar Tree, and it has the raised areas on the back, but I don't want to use that. I am going to actually use the smooth side where it doesn't have any of the raised parts. I'm using some of this spackle patch from the Dollar Tree just to fill that small hole at the top so that it's all smooth. I gave my gingerbread man 2 coats of brown acrylic paint. You can use any color of brown that you want. My favorite for my gingerbread man is this milk chocolate. It's an Americana brand, but depending on what brand of paint you use will depend on the names of the different paints, but I like this brown color. Once I give my gingerbread man 2 coats of the brown paint and it's dry, then I am doing some shading. I want to give a bit of definition and depth to my gingerbread man. And as you can see there, if I mess up a little bit, a baby wipe is one of my best friends and best tools in my craft room. Anyway, so I'll just continue to shade that around there until I like the look of it. The next step I'm giving some cheeks, and I'm just using some barn red or a deep red for my gingerbread for the cheeks, and I like to use a stencil brush and I kind of stipple it on. I do lighter at first until I kind of get the look that I'm going for, and so then I'll just continue to stipple on and until I like the look that I want. And then next I'm gonna draw some eyes, and I usually start out with my black Sharpie marker. With the eyes, I make like an almond shape, kind of, have them together at the top. That's just the look that I like. I start with a black Sharpie marker, and then I go back and then I will do paint, for the eyes. Then I have a very thin old brush that I've had for many years that I just do little eyelashes. I like my little faces to be cute and have cute little expressions, and I achieve that with just the little brushes that I have. And I'll also add some eyelashes, some eyebrows, and then I'll do just a little mouth. I'll just draw that little mouth on with my black Sharpie marker. Using a wood plaque, and I get these from either Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Dollar Tree has these. I'm using some primary red paint and giving it a border, and then I use different paints just to give it some just paint color around the edges, like shading with my brown paint. I am using my liner brush and giving some white just stripes on it just to give it a country touch, because this is a really cute country homespun gingerbread, and just making little stripes like this just gives me all the feels and all the little country gingerbread cuteness for this project. I'm going to hand letter Merry Christmas on this sign, and when I got to the M in Christmas, I got it a little bit closer together than what I wanted to. This isn't my best brush. I should have used a different brush, but anyway, I'm going to show you how I fix it if my letters get a little bit too close, as you can see here. And I'm going to go ahead and add a button to the eye. And so at first I was like, I was going to scratch this and repaint it. But then I was like, you know what? This will give me an opportunity to share with my viewers how I correct something if my painting doesn't come out the way that I want it to. And so anyway, I'm just, putting hand lettering that on there and just putting some dots on the ends of the letters because I like my happy dots. Okay, this is what I was talking about. My M is a little bit too close, so I just take some of that off-white paint and just go through and just with my liner brush. And my favorite brushes are linked in my Amazon store, and you can find the link in the description. Just underneath this video, there's a description box. It might be a little triangle or an arrow or something. If you click that little arrow, it will expand the box. I'm going to add some splatter paint to my projects. I like that look. I achieve it just with an old stencil brush and a stick. I just run it across the brush. Some friends have shared that they use their fingers across the brush, or they'll use an old toothbrush, a toothpick, anything like that to achieve this look. That's just, entirely a personal preference. And then I'll just go around my gingerbread man as well as my sign, and I will give it extra doodling with to decorate my gingerbread man. I have one of the garland ties from the Dollar Tree, and to get it to stay on my gingerbread, I have my Crop-A-Dile, and I'm using the larger hole punch and I am just figuring out here. I want it to look like the garland, or like the gingerbread man is holding the garland. And so I'm just punching holes in like where the hands are, where it looks like he's holding the garland. And then I will just thread that through, and then I'm going to decorate the garland with some pip berries, some rusty jingle bells, some I added some buttons, and make it look really cute. Oh, and some fabric ribbon. I just cut strips of fabric and tied them onto the garland. So what I'm doing here is I cut strips of fabric, and then I cut smaller strips, and I'm tying them on the garland, 4 little ties where it looks like bows on the gingerbread garland. Then I will add some pip berries. The garland strand, the one with the little rusty jingle bells, I got from Joann's. And then the pip berries I got from Hobby Lobby in the miniature ornament section. I have one of these extra tags from the Dollar Tree. I just sanded off the majority of the glitter of what I could. And then the scrapbook paper is from Hobby Lobby. I cut it down to size because I'm going to be putting some of that red polka dot on the top, and I just really think that it really ties nicely in there together. So I'll just continue to add some embellishments. I'll add my gingerbread on there and just continue just putting all of this country cuteness on this gingerbread Christmas sign. Guys, this is my spin on the very popular rag trees. Now, the form is from the Dollar Tree. This is just a small tinsel tree, and I just snipped off all of the tinsel, and then I'm left with this form just like this. It is plastic, and if it was a little rough, it may break, but I don't know, they may be a little bit different now. So what I use to kind of help just kind of with those gaps, because there was a lot of space in between there. I just used some green wire. It's very pliable. It's some that I had on hand. I think I got this at Craft Outlet, and so I just wrapped it around, and that would also gave me an extra row of wire so that I could tie my fabric strips on there. So what I'm doing is I'm just using some homespun fabric and some muslin fabric. I think I got these at Hobby Lobby, but you can also get homespun fabric at Walmart, and you can also get it at jubileefabric.com. I always mention that because surprisingly, there are a lot of my friends that don't know where to get homespun fabric. Homespun fabric is just fabric that you can see on both sides. It's really, really pretty and very decorative, especially at Christmas time. So I cut my strips of fabric to about 9 or 10 inches. That was a good length for me. I'm showing you, these are my pinking shears that I've had for many years. And so I just use those just to trim off the edges of it. I really think that it just gives a really good finishing touch. For a lot of my projects, you'll see me use my pinking shears a lot. So what I'm showing you here is I had taken an extra piece of homespun fabric, wrapped it around the edge of that tree. I didn't really need that, so just use your discretion. So what I did is to get the small strips on the wire and on the plastic part, I just folded the fabric in half, and then I just wrapped it around the little bar, and then the ends of it, I just pulled it through and made the knot. And so just really depends on how close you want your strips of fabric to be, how wide you cut them or how wide you rip them, and how full you want your tree to be will depend on how many you put on there. So I'll just continue to do that, and then using that extra piece of green wire kind of helped me with an extra row so that I can make my tree look really, really cute. For the rusty star for the top of the tree, this is one that I've had on hand. I picked up several years ago from Hobby Lobby in the miniature ornament tree section. Also, I'm going to be using some jingle bells. Now, I don't really remember the millimeter on these, but you can kind of see, and you can get jingle bells at different places online as well as in the crafting stores. So what I did is I took a piece of jute and just tied them in different places around the tree just to add a little bit of embellishment and rustic cuteness for my country rag tree. These supplies made the cutest Santa gnome for my country Christmas burlap wreath. So the ornament that is going to be the head that came from the Dollar Tree, as well as the red and black Santa hat. The wood balls came from Hobby Lobby, as well as the faux fur that I'm using for Santa's beard. So I'm using a flesh tone color paint. So I painted up my nose so that could be drying. Then I'm going to lay out my fur on this ornament and just kind of position it the way that I want it. And actually, I use the whole entire thing. I just trimmed it off at the bottom, and I just want to briefly share with you, when you're working with fur, if you have not, there is a felt backing on the back, and so that is something that you want to cut through, not cut the fur, because it will look notched. And if you want it to look wispy and very natural, you want to cut through the back so that you have the wispiness of the fur. I position the hat on my ornament, or kind of like my Santa's head, and I'm going to be adding some fabric fill stuffing just to the top to give it some poof. And so I glue my nose on so that I can get the position of the beard and everything when I'm gluing it down. And so then I glue my beard on there as well, and just use my Fabri-Tac glue as well as hot glue just to tack everything down. And I just love seeing this little guy come to life. He's just so precious and so cute. All right, so then for the tip of the hat, I want to add the country part of it. So I have some wire and some rusty jingle bells, as well as some pine that I'm just going to be adding there to the top of the hat. And then I'll kind of glue that over a bit so that it is just bent over a bit, and the way that I want that little bend in my Santa gnome hat, and everything just looks really cute. Now I'm going to start on the wreath. I'm using an 18-inch wire form and these three 10-inch deco mesh. The wire form is from the Dollar Tree, and the deco mesh are all from Hobby Lobby. And I just roll them out. I roll them all three at one time. Everybody has their own, or each wreath maker has their own way of doing things. And I'm cutting these at 12 inches, and I cut all three at one time because I'm going to put all three of them together and put them into, or tie them onto the wreath. I actually made 24 bundles of these three, and I'm just using the curl or cruffle technique. And how I do it, I just bend over the ends. I clip it with a little clamp that I get from the Dollar Tree and clamp that like that. I do each one of these the same way, and then I'm just going to layer them, crisscrossing them, make like an X pattern, or a star or something like that. And and then I tie all three of these on the wreath, and like I said, I made 24 bundles. I just use some pipe cleaners and just attach them to the wreath form. On this one right here, I put the pipe cleaner on the inner ring, and then I go on the outer ring, and then I go on the inner ring. And so that I kind of stagger it. And so that is kind of how I make my wreaths. Just kind of tie those on there like that. And the clips from those blue and white clips I get from the Dollar Tree. I find them in the laundry section, and I love those clips, clamps, or whatever you want to call them, because they open very wide, and they help with streamlining and help just kind of hold things together, so that they kind of act as an extra pair of hands for me, or extra fingers. And I am all about convenience, I tell you. So I just love how full and how just all of this, I just love all of these different colors together. And because the Santa, was so big, I ended up using the 18-inch wire frame, and I'm so glad that I did. And so I cut these at 13 inches using my Perfect Tails ribbon helper. It kind of helps me with, twisting my ribbon around it, and then I can cut it all at one time, and then I dovetail it what I want. So what I'm showing you here is I put these two patterns together, and I help myself by kind of get my bundles together. I just put these two together, and then the other three I will make that a bundle. I use my tiny attacher, my little stapler. It is just a handy little tool that I use in my craft room that helps with my bow making.
It's a chance to start over new, 'cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of everything but you. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas.
Since I have 24 bundles, I need 24 bundles of ribbon. So I have 12 of each. And so for these three right here, I'm just making a bow with some raffia because I'm going to put that in the middle of that. And that is what I am, the raffia, that's what I'm putting in those bundles. And I just trim off, the excess and just hit it with some hot glue to kind of seal the middle of the where the pipe cleaner goes. And for the these larger jingle bells, I got these from Hobby Lobby a long time ago. I don't know what the millimeter is. It doesn't say it on the package, but they're large jingle bells. They were in the miniature ornament section. And so I'm going to put these jingle bells in the middle of with the burlap Merry Christmas and the window pane ribbon. And so it was 6 of these jingle bells in this package. I've had them on, like I said, I got them when they were clearancing out all of their stuff, many years ago. I pick up this kind of primitive country stuff. And so I had it on hand. So I am using it for this wreath because I think it just all ties everything together. So my point is just be on the lookout, even at thrift stores, Goodwill, yard sales, Marketplace on Facebook. People are always clearancing out stuff. And, check Amazon. They may have some of these large jingle bells.
I've been longing to hold you close, forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories.
So I just alternated on the just put the ribbon bundles in the top and the bottom. And then I just trim everything with my little scissors and fluff everything out. And so I just love this. I just love the whole country feel of this wreath. I'm really happy the way that it turned out. And so I always try to, fluff my ribbons out so that they're not stuck underneath. Okay, so then now I'm going to put on my Santa, and I'm like, yep, that beard is a little bit too long. So I go through the same thing again, just using my box blade and just cutting off, the felt and just kind of tearing it as I go, not to cut the fur itself so that it still is wispy.
We're gonna play those carols that you love. We'll be singing all the melodies until the sun comes up. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the
I'm using these cable tie mounts. Now these are listed in my Amazon store. I will have a link to that in the description box below if you're interested in these things that kind of help us attach these signs to our wreaths if you don't have, if they don't have holes in it. And so they are sticky already, but I like extra glue to give it extra bonding because I don't want my signs to fall off. And so I just use E6000 and as well as some hot glue. So just using the pipe cleaners, I just threaded it through the mesh back to the frame, twisted it around the wire frame just so that everything is nice and snug. And then I'm just making sure that my Santa is where I wanted him to be. Now, guys, I'm going to put a note on this that I would not recommend this to be in the weather elements because of the fur, because with weather elements it gets all nasty. Anyway, I would just have it for inside use. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I have this pine, and it's faux pine. I've had it in my stash. It had a Hobby Lobby tag, so it's probably something I got last season. This silver thing right here, this is a stem cutter I got from Deco Exchange. I will have a link for it. It's an affiliate link that I'm going to list in the description box below if you're interested in checking it out. I had used some birthday money this past year to purchase it because it just has made my life so much easier. It's like a wire cutter, but I can just use it right there on my table, and I don't have to struggle with my wire cutters. Anyway, so with this pine, I had cut it all down nice, and so I used my Steel Picks machine to put a steel pick on the end of it, and then also my hot glue. I like to use the combination when I'm using putting it in Deco Mesh wreaths like this because it makes everything nice and snug. And if you saw my son's hands, he was in my room hanging out with me. I love that time like that. He was giving me his suggestions of where my holes were. And so I